Welcome to the Power of Your Voice podcast with your host, Johnny Gorky. You have the power to overcome challenges and fears. Let my voice and the voice of many others show you how to transform these challenges into opportunities. To learn more about future podcasts and read episode show notes, check out my website at www.thepowerofyourvoice.com.
Welcome back to another episode of the Power of Your Voice podcast. This is episode 49, and today's guest is Eva Medilek. Eva specializes in helping executives, entrepreneurs, influencers, and business leaders create sustained, heightened levels of success in business and personal life by developing relationships and influence, taking radical responsibility, and implementing habits for success. Eva knows firsthand how a driven personality type can leave you feeling disappointed, frustrated, and resentful in your personal relationships, which impacts your ability to achieve success professionally. She uses her personal experiences along with her leadership, transformational, and certified high-performance training to teach you the pillars of high performance, as well as show you how to communicate in a way that fosters intimacy and connection in your personal life. You don't have to choose between being successful in your life or being successful in your personal relationships. Learning how your relationship style can be transformed to create connection and intimacy in conjunction with the mastery of high performance is the key. Eva believes that the power of your personal and professional relationships can be unlocked in a way that creates success and high performance mastery in every area of your life. Hey, Eva, welcome to the Power of Your Voice podcast. Okay, so my question is, you focused everything into your business. You didn't have time for a lot of fun, and it almost ended your marriage. Now, there are people who are probably listening to this, and they struggle with the exact same thing. They're running the business, and they want to have a healthy relationship with their partner. Maybe they have kids too, and they want to have a healthy relationship with their children. How can they have a relationship with their children, with their family, and still have a successful business or start a business? And how are they able to achieve this balance? Because I think this, for a lot of people I still know personally, they struggle with this. Even sometimes it's not even always just a business owner. It could be somebody who's in college. They struggle with the same thing. Like, how do you maintain that balance in any kind of success?
Well, first of all, they'll never be equally balanced. So you just got to come to grips with that. But how do you take care of yourself in your rise to the top, in your achieving that success and getting to the next level? Because the success is a journey. It's not a destination. And so who are you being on that journey? And the key is learning how to not only release tension, I like to call release tension, set an intention, and re-energize yourself when you're moving from task to task. If you think about cars on a speedway, and then you're watching the Indianapolis 500 race, and the cars are going around and around and around, and then all of a sudden one pulls off and does a pit stop. Well, if you think about it, that pit stop happens before the tire blows, before the spark plugs explode or whatever happens under the hood of the car. I don't know. I'm a girl. I don't know these things. But they are re-energizing themselves. They are fueling up so they become faster, longer, better, and be stronger and be at their A game, at that next level consistently before the burnout, overwhelm, exhaustion that comes with not taking care of yourself, not managing your transitions, and re-energizing so that you can be at your best. And so that's the key. The key is in the transitions from moving from entrepreneur and business person to husband, wife, spouse, partner, mom, dad, whatever that looks like, without carrying all that energy with you, releasing that energy, bringing that new set of energy that's required for that task so that you could be your best and show up your best. So they're never, ever going to be equally balanced. And so when that happens, I say in relationships, you get to create agreements. You know, if you're working on a project or a task that you know you need to put all of your energy and effort in for 2 weeks, 3 months, then you get to set agreements with your family of what life's going to look like and ask for support during those times. But then when that agreement is up, you get to go back being fully engaged and making sure you spend time taking care of your family obligations as well. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, well, and that's the thing though, because there's different types of personalities. I kind of have the issue as well. You throw every single thing that you have into something, or you don't do it at all. And not only, this doesn't always just affect business owners, but I've even had managers like that. It's like they're the first person there, they're the last person to leave, and they don't even own the company. And they do that every single day for 10, 15, 20 years. And unfortunately, it destroys relationships with their family and friends. So it's not always business owners too. But yeah, I mean, some of these people, they have to realize, okay, I'm giving everything. My job is a 10, my business is a 10, but my relationship with my kids is a 2, or my relationship with my spouse is a 2. And you can't.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. No, you've got to create the time and the space. And that's by creating habits. A lot of people, what is the reason for spending all that time in work? Are you not productive in the normal 9 to 5 hours? Like, what's going on there? Why do you have to be the first one in and the last one to leave? What are your management skills like? Can you not make quick decisions? So figure out why it's taking you so long. And you may need to work on your productivity, on your leadership, on delegating. I know a lot of people who do that as well. I used to be that, and that's because I was a controller and I didn't trust anyone to do it as good as I did.
Yes.
And I felt that if I wanted it done right, I needed to do it myself. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to give up control. That's a different issue right there. So if you want to have a life, and if you want to enjoy your life and be in good health and have healthy relationships, have a healthy mind-body balance, so to speak, be healthy in your mind, you make time for what's important to you. So know that the world is not going to fall apart if you're not the one who does everything. And if that's the case, you don't have the right team under you. You're not working with the right areas, or you're not as productive as you need to be in the time that you have to do this. So I would look close at that. I would look at your control issues, because that, hey, controller here. Like, I get it. I know it. And so the minute I let go of control, well, first let me say, when I was in control of everything, I was in a business with my husband. I started a real estate investment company, and I was the one taking the education. I was the one doing the marketing. I was the one getting the leads, following up on the leads, closing the sales. And this is as an investment, not as a real estate agent or anything. He wasn't as involved, so he didn't have that level of knowledge. But what I realized, in addition to that, I was doing the cooking, the shopping, the laundry, the everything, because I was a good cook. Nobody washed dishes better than I did. Like, all of that control was it. No, you can't do my laundry. You're going to put blacks in with the whites. It's going to ruin everything. And it wasn't until I let go of control that my back pain stopped. The migraine stopped. The world didn't fall apart if, when I, turned the business over to my husband, if he made a mistake. I was still a consultant, so to speak, in that business as I was starting my coaching career in business. So we would still have collaborative meetings, but I left the bulk of that to him. And it took, the weight of the world was on my shoulders when I was in the attitude that I'm the only one that can do it. And I just had to trust and let him find his own way. Let him figure out, let him make the same mistakes I was making in the beginning as I was learning it. And I just had to back off. And I have to tell you, being a control freak is exhausting.
Yeah.
And you can't help but to show up irritable and cranky and snippy, because not only are you in physical pain, your head is hurting, you may have, cloudy thoughts or whatever, because you can't think clearly, because there's no time for you to stop. And it's just not a healthy way to live.
Now, with that said, would you think, or would you suggest to the majority of people who want to start a business, is it a good idea for example, you and your husband did this together? Is that something that you would recommend? Or should people kind of,
And no, that depends. That's individual. When I started this business, when I purchased the package to have the education, it was with 2 people. And I did not want to be in business with anyone else but my husband. At that time, he wasn't as gung-ho about it, so to speak. He was a little bit, like get a good job, have that security. And I was leaving a career in dentistry as a dental hygienist to start this, because I wanted to have passive income. I wanted the freedom. My vision was big. We had visions of buying a place in Europe, living in Europe in the summers. And you can't do that with a job, right? You can't do that with a traditional job. Let me put it that way, because you don't have the freedom to design your life. And that was my dream and my goal. And that's what I was singularly focused on without taking the time to nourish the relationship that I was in. Like, I was only married a year when we started this business together, and I just put my all into it. And yes, the success comes when you do that. I'm not going to lie. We got awards. We were inducted into Hall of Fame. We got all of our goals. We hit all of our benchmarks. And I say we because I do include him in it. And though at the time I felt it was me, but it was we. And, we got the place in Europe. We ended up on House Hunters International. So that was another little dream fantasy of mine, to have my 15 minutes of fame or whatever. And all of that happened, but at what cost? I wasn't feeling well. I was exhausted all the time, which affected my mood. He didn't want to be in the same room with me, because the first thing in my mouth was like, oh, all this needs to be done, or the property manager messed up this. Like, it was always in that energy that's, and no, it's not. It's not healthy at all.
So then, going into that, what are some of the warning signs? Like, so for those people who are listening, what are some key things that people need to realize? Because sometimes people have to hit completely rock bottom, but they don't have to. So there's some key things that you probably learned through your experience. Like, well, dang, this happened. If I would have known. Now, looking back, you look at those things. Well, these are things that happened, but if I would have been paying attention, I would have been able to fix that and shift in a different way. Well, what are some of those things?
Well, speaking as a relation, from the relationship side, we always only talked about business. It was never really anything fun. We stopped doing things for fun as often because I couldn't. I had to work. I had to get this done. This was happening. So we weren't implementing simple things like date night or going out or getting away from it all unless I was already in complete breakdown. I was a little bit resentful and irritable because I felt I was doing the majority of the work, but at the same time, internally, I didn't trust anybody else to do it. You know what I mean? So there was a little bit of a double-edged sword there. I had a lot of back pain, neck pain, migraines. I had physical symptoms. I didn't take time to work out. So there was no real release for me because I was always working. And I have to say that I saw my husband withdraw and pull back from me. I saw him always wanting to be on his bike and outside and mountain biking. He didn't have a job, so to speak. He's a freelance photographer at that time. So he had the time to just, whenever I asked him to come into the office and help me, he always had to go on a bike ride first, because I could only imagine the energy that was in the room when you walked in the room with me. But just not talking, maybe getting more irritable with things getting on your nerves and not being done quite right. And like, I'll do it. So I would say just being short and cranky and irritable is some of the signs that you need some self-care. My coach calls it meds RX. You need some meditation, some exercise, some diet, and some sleep. Work on that relationship, take some supplements, get your act together.
Definitely.
Because you could lose everything that you claim you're working for. I'm working for the family. I'm working for the kids. I've seen it. My dad was of that generation. He worked 2 jobs to send me to private school. And I never saw my dad. Like, what's the point in that? Little girls want to be with their dad.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. I'm sure you're probably making pretty good money, but yeah, your business is great. You're making money, but your relationship completely stinks. And that's not, at the end of the day, all the money and all that kind of stuff is great to have, but if your relationship with your spouse sucks, that's not good.
Yeah. And it's not that it was like a slow burn. It's not like we were horrible. We're both really nice people when you come down to it, but we were losing connection. We were just drifting. It was just a slow drift. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, okay, once we achieved everything, we'll have time to put it back together and we'll fix it. And, we even tried therapy for a while during that. And that totally imploded. It just didn't work because it just wasn't the right therapist for us. Let me put it to you that way. It's not like I'm against therapy. I'm not. We did, once the infidelity was discovered, we found a new therapist, and that was much more helpful in helping us rebuild our relationship and have the amazing relationship we have now. But it was really, we had to learn who to be with each other, how to communicate with each other, how to make time for connection, and how to listen without being defensive, without wanting to respond all the way, and really to speak each other's love languages. Because the way I feel love is not the same way he does.
4 pillars.
The 5 love languages. Have you read that book? Yeah. Isn't it awesome?
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to ask you, because I believe my wife's a psychotherapist, so she's actually a marriage and family therapist. There are a lot of people who potentially throw away great marriages. I'm done. I'm just done. That's what they do. But they possibly could have repaired it and literally been so extremely happy. How are you able to fix your marriage? Because that's the thing. A lot of people, especially in Hollywood, we know people do that all the time.
Yeah.
How are you guys able to fix it? Because a lot of people are wondering, they might be listening to this right now like, dang, I'm going through the same thing. I need some help. The therapy's not working. All the books are not helping. What worked for you?
We didn't fix it. We tore it down and rebuilt. Real estate analogy. We built a new foundation. And the first step, honestly, was taking responsibility. I call it taking radical responsibility. When I discovered the fact that he was turning to someone else, away from me into someone else, my first thought was like, wow, who am I? What have I done to cause him to want to do that and to seek elsewhere? And, I'm not saying that he didn't take responsibility too. It took both of us. And until you are both willing to take responsibility for your part in it is the foundation. Like, look, I could be better for you. I could not make you feel bad about who you are every time you walk in the room. And I realize, like, looking back in hindsight, I still see areas where I remember and I cringe, like, oh my God, what turned me into that kind of person that didn't make him feel so valued in our relationship, that he looked elsewhere to get that value from. And so look at who you are being in your relationship and how you're making your spouse feel. Because who wants to be with someone who every time they talk to them makes them feel like crap, or like they're not good enough, or, they can't do anything right, so you're going to do it yourself. That's just so basic one-on-one. And so we took responsibility, radical responsibility, and then we made the commitment. We made the commitment to fight for us. And that meant not bringing up the past. We dealt with the past in therapy. We dealt with what happened in therapy. And we only did therapy for about 3 or 4 months. I don't even remember, not even that long. But I'm not saying ignore that, but we flushed all that up. We went to the whys, what we were feeling, what was going on, and really dug deep into that. And then we actually looked at what I call our relationship style, which is our relationship operating system that was formed by our early life experiences that just, created a pattern for our belief and our behaviors. So we looked at that and we understood each other's style, got to know where it was birthed, how it shows up to damage or sabotage our relationships today. And we made a commitment to transform our ways of being for each other so that we are present with each other. We are focused, we listen, in a way that it's that process of having those difficult conversations. Like, how do you feel in that process? And not so much attached to the outcome, and learning to create win-wins and not make the other wrong. I mean, I was one right and righteous person. I can tell you how I was showing up. I'm not going to speak to for my husband because that's his process and his journey. But after we did therapy, that wasn't the be all end all. I hired a coach to help me see what I couldn't see with how I was showing up in my relationship. And he continued on with, coaching and therapy for him. So once we committed and worked on ourselves together, we continued to work on ourselves individually so we could be better for each other.
Well, congratulations, because it's a big thing. A lot of times people don't realize, okay, bye, I'll go find somebody else. And then what do? They repeat the same thing, and then they get married a second time and third time, and they don't take responsibility for the mistakes that they could have made, possibly, and they don't change, unfortunately. And you guys were able to do that, which is absolutely beautiful. And plus, now you actually have a marriage. Before, it just sounds like it was just a business.
I wouldn't say that. The business actually was the one that tested the marriage, and that's because I really showed up highly driven. You see, he's not driven like I am, and so that could be, I need to honor my husband's differences and not make him wrong for not being as driven as me. That was the key. If you really wanted to drive it down, we had been together for 7 years before we got married. And so we started the business a year into our marriage, and then this breakdown happened probably 4 or 5 years into our marriage. So we had been together quite a long time. So it wasn't like we didn't have a relationship. That's what made it easy to fight, because we genuinely love and care for each other. There was no guarantee that we were going to make the decision to stay together. And that was the fear. That was the fear that I had. Like, what if when we do all this work, he discovers he doesn't want to be with me. He'd rather be with someone else. Or I discovered, that I can't get past this, that it's really going to cause a wedge. We had no idea, but we were willing to go in there and do the deep work to find out. And it was scary. I did not know what the outcome would be. All I knew that we had to commit to giving it our all, and that the intention was to build a new relationship that we can, move forward with our life and our dreams with. And we don't live in the past. We don't bring it up. I think there was one time I brought it up, and that's when I was coaching a gentleman who called himself a serial, I was going to say killer, but a cheater. He was a serial cheater. And I went and asked my husband to help me in coaching this gentleman, just to understand where he was coming from. And I remember during that time, I asked my husband, I said, what made you stay? Why did you stay in the marriage? And he looked at me and he goes, you took a stand for me. You took a stand for us, and you took a stand for our relationship. No one's ever done that for me before. And that just touched me so deeply. And it really, goes to the work that we did on identifying our relationship style and why we have it. I have a relationship style that I call a yo-yo, and it's also mixed in with a little bit of a Vader, because I was raised by a dad who made me feel wrong for crying and made me feel weak for crying. And I know a lot of men experience that too. And so what happens is you build up some walls around your emotions, and you learn to shut them down. And you're not as vulnerable and transparent as you could be to have that deeper connection. So that's what I had to work on, to show up, ask for what I need, and not be that woman. I mean, we've all known strong, independent women like, I don't need you. I can be fine without you. I built this business. I can build another one. But who wants to do it alone? Who wants to be that person that has all this stuff and nobody to share it with? And he's my person. And I wasn't showing up to nurture him and support him. And he was avoiding me because, he didn't know how to ask for what he needed as well. So we both have this agreement that we get to ask for what we need if our needs aren't being met.
That's beautiful. I mean, now you guys probably have an incredible marriage, the marriage that you always were supposed to have, and now you have it, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really.
Even in quarantine.
Yeah.
We haven't killed each other yet.
and especially now, because I definitely agree that this time that we're going through is really going to make people grow, stay together, or they're going to find out, you know what, maybe I don't need to be with this person anymore.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to give each other space and grace to not be our best selves always, because there's a lot of emotions that are coming up now, whether it's fear, uncertainty. Like, look, we have a lot of real estate holdings. Like, our tenant's going to be able to pay rent? Can we pay our mortgages? I mean, all of that stuff is real, but it's not dictating how we show up for each other. And one of the things that does happen a lot in relationships, I'm sure your wife can speak into it, the outside pressures and stress, we take it out on the people we love the most. If you've ever had a teenager, you're too young to have a teenager ever, at least right now, but if you ever survived the teenage years as a parent, you know that whatever insecurities and uncertainties that teenager is feeling, they're taking it out on you.
Three more
Everything's
years.
wrong with you. You have what?
3 more years.
3 more years?
My oldest is 10. So
Oh, so you're on the cusp. It's going to happen.
yeah.
And you're going to be like, who's the alien that kidnapped my sweet little boy, my sweet little girl? Like, boys not so much, but girls, it's a challenge. And when we're scared or we don't know how to process our feelings or even share what we're feeling, it comes out in, petty arguments, bad attitude, people getting on our nerves, standing, we said the saying, I got one nerve left and you're standing all over it. and so to just learn how to transition, learn how to take care of yourself when you feel that coming up. So maybe it's meditation, maybe it's exercise, maybe it's your diet, maybe you need to sleep more, maybe you just need to share. This is what I'm feeling and it's not good. I don't want to take it out on you, but I'm feeling this way. I need support. And that's something I've learned to do instead of just thinking I can handle it all myself. And, and it's, with men, they always want to fix it. And sometimes, and I'll just speak as a woman, we just need you to hear us and hug us, but not tell us it's going to be okay. Don't do it in a patronizing way because that pisses us off more.
Yeah.
Word to the wise here. But just ask, what do you need in this moment? What can I do for you? And for me, it's just like, I just need a hug. If I get a hug, I'll be okay. That just instantly makes my mood brighter.
Yeah, that's exactly what my wife says, because I'm so used to fixing everything. I fix the car, I take care of the yard work, I do all that stuff, and then it's like I get frustrated because I'm like, I can't fix it. So
I know.
I don't need you guys. You don't need to fix everything.
Fix it. Mm-hmm.
Be quiet and listen, and then give her a hug.
Yeah. Just ask, what do you need me to do? One of the things that I teach a lot of my clients, especially in the relationship portion of my program, is to learn, do you need me to listen? Do you need my advice? Do you just want to vent? Like, how do you need me to generously listen to you in this moment? Because I'll give you what you need. And sometimes you just need to shut up and listen. Sometimes they're actually like, I need a help with a solution to this problem. Maybe you have a different opinion or perspective, so to speak. Or, you know what? I just want you here next to me as I babble on for no reason,
No,
just ask.
I just want to ask you if you would go back to the beginning when you were starting this business. Well, is there like 3 things that you would have done differently?
Yeah, that's a really good question because I believe everything happens for a reason. I love the fact that we had this breakdown in our marriage because it has made us into the power couple of the century. And so I don't know necessarily if I do anything different. What I'm doing different now is, making sure that my language to my husband is based in acknowledgement and an appreciation and value, because that's what was lacking before. And that's sure as hell didn't make him feel good about his role in our marriage, in our life, in our relationship, in our business. I make time to take care of myself. My self-care is really important. And when I have my morning routine and I get, my meditation and my exercise, I take care of my diet, get enough sleep, I feel better, which means I show up better and I'm not cranky and stuff all the time. And I honor our differences. You have to pull me to go. And like he's learned, like Sunday, he said, you're getting out of the house. We're going on a hike. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts because I'm working on another project right now. And I get to listen to him because I know that he is taking care of me and he doesn't want cranky wife back. And so I'm like, yes, I can give, it's good for us. It's good for the family. It's good for the doggy. We'll go on a hike. So I would say moving forward in relationships, listen more, talk less, ask for what you need. Ask your spouse or partner what they need and listen and, create win-wins in your marriage and relationship. And, if there's something you can't do, like honor the agreements that you have in the marriage. And you may have to make agreements like, if I need to work later than, 5 o'clock, even though we work from home, I will check in with him. I will let him know, and I'll let him know when I'll be down. But he's not left, because we have our evening routine. So he's not just left waiting for me and wondering and what's going on. So, we just communicate better so we know what to expect in each other. And so, a lot of things get lost in having these expectations. And when the expectations aren't met, we get disappointed or frustrated or angry because you expected something. So be clear in your agreements and what's going to happen, manage the expectations. Yeah, simple stuff.
Just one quick question is, for some people who resent people, because that really affects his relationships, what's the best way to move on from that? Because some people, I forgive you, but they don't really, and they really hold that against that person forever, and they really have to let that go, because it's not going to.
Well, they have some problems. Yeah. I mean, I do a process in my my relationship style intensive to find out what is the underlying feelings, what's really going on under that resentment. Where was that born? Why do you have such strong feelings? Why can't you let things go? When you think about, me I don't see myself as a victim of infidelity in my marriage, because I don't take a victim status anywhere. I take responsibility. So if I were always to resent that and bring that up in every argument, my marriage is not going to last, because nobody wants to hear that. So you've got to learn to get the apology that you never received and forgive.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to, as you said, don't be stuck in the past. You have to move on and live in the present. Hey, Eva, before we go, how can people find you online and through social media?
People can actually reach me on my website, which is evamedilek.com. That's EVAMEDILEK.com. They can totally get in touch with me on my website. My Instagram is personal coach, 4 success. So personal coach for success. And on LinkedIn, I am Eva Medilek as well. And I look forward to connecting with any of your listeners. I do have a special free gift, which are the pillars of high performance that you can't get on my website. But if you want to email me at eva@evamedilek.com and let me know that you heard me on Voice Podcast, I'm happy to send you the pillars of high performance so that they can actually reach heightened levels of success in every area of their life without sacrifice. Thank you so much.
Johnny here. Thank you for listening to the Power of Your Voice podcast. I would absolutely love to get your feedback on this episode and how it impacted you. Reach out to me on Instagram by sending a direct message to username Voice Podcast. If someone in your life could benefit from this episode, share it with them, and check out thepowerofyourvoice.com to read blogs on each podcast episode and learn more about what was discussed. And please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This lets me know you find this show valuable, and thank you for listening.